Have you ever been to a casino? If you haven't, I recommend you don't go. But if you have, you will have noticed that some people there are having fun, laughing with their friends, just, having a casual, fun time. But other people, especially in the slot machine section, will be there almost like zombies. Just zoning out, putting bill after bill, hoping to, get a big jackpot, cash out a huge amount. And when you look at these people, it's easy to think that, they're lost and they're a bit crazy and that, I could never be that person. But if you think about it, you and I are not so different from this person. Sure, maybe you're not spinning the wheels of a slot machine for hours on end, but you are scrolling on your phone without end in sight. Both you, me, and this person have one thing in common, is that you're looking for completion in something that can never give it to you. Now, the thing with slot machines and social media is the major commonality that they have is that they both promise to give you completion and to give you some sense of fulfillment. However, none of them can. They can only distract you because fundamentally they are traps. In a slot machine, you can spin to the end if you lose all your money and then you're screwed. But with your phone, with social media, you can never scroll to the end. And this is the major problem with it. Because if you think about it, there's never really been a time that you were on Instagram or TikTok, especially on the Explore page, where you scrolled to the end, where you were scrolling and all of a sudden there's no more content. That literally never happened and it will never happen. The longer you stay on the app, the more money they make. As such, they have all the incentive in the world to keep you there as long as possible. Not only that, but if you know, they have teams of some of the smartest people in the world from the best universities trying to figure out ways to optimize these algorithms and these, how this content is presented to keep you there just a little bit longer. Because for you, it's just 5 more minutes. For them, it's more millions and millions on their bank account. And as such, you have to recognize, first of all, is that these these apps do not want you to be focused. So right at the start, they are against you. The slot machine wants you to lose all your money. Social media wants you to waste all your time there. As such, if you're looking to really use your time better, to not waste it so much on social media, on YouTube, on all of these things that you shouldn't be doing, because often when you are doing them is when you shouldn't. It's when you should be working or working on your project or going to the gym or doing things that are uncomfortable. But because they are uncomfortable and you have something very comforting in your phone, you delay with it. And you delay with the hopes that if you do it enough, it will become easier. But it never does. And this is why this constant access that you have is, in my opinion, probably the biggest obstacle in the way and the one that we're going to focus on solving here today. This constant access requires a better solution than just willpower or motivation or you just saying to yourself, oh, today I'm going to do it. Because that will work 1 day or 2 days or 1 week, but as soon as you're not motivated or you have a worse day or something happens, you're not going to follow through. It's just too convenient. And I want to give you the example here. If we look back at these people we're talking about addicted to gambling, to these slot machines, let's imagine one of them wanted to quit. And he was really committed to quitting. He deep down was like, okay, I'm done with this. But now let's also imagine that every time he went to work, every day, he had his own office, and in the corner of his office, so he could look at it in his desk, there would be a slot machine that he can play whenever he wants, can put the money and just play. How long do you think he would last? 1 day, 5 days, a week? Probably not even a week. It would just be too much. It's staring at you, whispering like the Green Goblin mask for you to just go there and do it once. But then once becomes twice, thrice, and then all of a sudden you waste all your time. You wasted all your money. And so the solution that you need is the same that he needs, just not as dramatic. Because don't get scared. I'm not here to suggest that you should delete social media forever and never go on YouTube and Instagram and any of these things ever again. These can also be great tools for you. You can learn a lot on YouTube. You can start a business on Instagram and all these platforms. You can use them for good, but you have to learn how to use them. And the first step in that is really removing the chains they have on you. Before I give you my 3-step solution to really optimize your environment and in a lot of ways make sure that it's not pulling you away from what you want to do, but pushing you towards it. So make sure it's not always tempting you with YouTube, with Instagram, with porn, with all these things, but instead it's promoting you to work, to do the things you truly want to do in the long term, to make sure you can see beyond the excuses, beyond the tricks your mind plays on you, and really see what you have to do and making it easy for yourself. Now, before we get to that, I want to give you another example just to make sure this clicks how impactful just your environment can be. And just by how switching some things up, really something you do kind of once and then you forget it, can change everything. And I want you to imagine that you want to do a project for work or writing or study something on your iPad. Let's say you have an iPad if you don't have. And to do this, every day you go to Starbucks or to your local school library, university library, somewhere, something like that, where, you can get a coffee there, stay there for a little bit and just work on your things. Now let's also imagine that every time you go there, maybe you start good, but after 5-10 minutes, you immediately go on your phone and you get distracted and you think to yourself, I should be working, but now I'm here. And all of a sudden an hour passed and you go home and you barely did anything. This happens again and again and again. Now, let's imagine that one day you go, normal, you get there, you order your coffee, sit down, open the iPad, you begin to write. All good, all fine, but now all of a sudden you get to, you encounter a roadblock. You don't know what to write next, it's a bit confusing, you have to do some research, and all of a sudden you don't want to continue doing it. You want to avoid, you want to find some comfort because this is uncomfortable. And as such, you reach into your pocket for your phone, except there's no phone. You forgot it at home. And to add insult to injury, for some reason you cannot connect your iPad to the internet. What do you think would happen in this situation? Do you think you just give up and go home so you can scroll a little bit, or that you would change places somewhere with internet so you can go on your iPad and watch a video? Of course not. Or most people, like 99% of people, would not do that. You'd just be forced to be with your work, to stare at what you're trying to do in the face and overcome it. Sure, it would be uncomfortable, it would be difficult, it wouldn't be pleasant, but you would solve it. And then what you would realize then, perhaps something you've realized but forgot, is that these uncomfortable situations are nothing more but, in a lot of ways, like flags pointing the way forward. Like in a video game, when you encounter enemies, it doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong, it means that's the correct path. Because if you're somewhere without, quote-unquote, enemies in a video game, or here obstacles, it means you're just stagnated. It means you're somewhere you should really not be if you're trying to progress, which you are, because then again, you've encountered the obstacle. And so what you have to understand, first of all, is that without a way to escape these obstacles, you will solve them. And the second part is not to dread them, or not to be like thinking, oh, it was going so well, but now there's an obstacle. No, it's going so well because now there's an obstacle, because this is what's gonna allow you to get to that next step. Because now you overcome this creative block and all of a sudden you start writing better. You start flowing into where you want to go. Not every day, of course. Some days are worse. Some days you are kind of your own obstacle and your mind is playing tricks on you. But a lot of times they're just pointing where you should go. Now let's get on to the solution. The 3 steps I'm going to give you here are simple but very effective. These are things you're going to correct in your environment. Usually do it once, twice, and that's it. So don't worry about it being something that it's going to take a long time and you have to do it every day. It's nothing like that. Now, a lot of these things you're probably going to think, as I'm saying them, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I thought about that, but I never did it. And the reason for that is these are going to be things that are very important, but they're not urgent. Because, there's never someone pushing you to a deadline to fix, your distractions, or to fix your office, or to fix your desk, or things like that. And because of it, you always delay. And you delay. And because it's something that never becomes never becomes urgent, you never do it. So as a little side note here, one of the key things that I've found in my life that really helps to progress is to do the things that are not urgent but very important and treat them with the same respect that you do treat the urgent tasks. Now, with that out of the way, what are the 3 steps here? I talk in great lengths about this inside my free course, Impulse Control. You can join for free below. It's inside our community, so make sure to check that out. 3 steps are, well, let's go one by one. First step here is going to be to remove any distractions that you can from your work environment. So if this is your office, it's going to be from your office, your room. If it's when you go to Starbucks, you essentially just don't take those distractions with you. Some are very obvious, and those should be removed right away. So if you're in your room and you constantly get distracted by your phone, take it out of your room. If you find that you take it out of your room, but then you go get it, you remove yourself out of there. If removing the distraction doesn't work, you remove yourself and leave them behind. So you go to Starbucks or somewhere, the library, and you don't bring the distractions with you. First step, or not first step, the ideal step is to remove. If it's the console there, remove the console. And the more extreme you are with these things, usually the better results you're gonna see. If you're very distracted by your console, instead of removing it, sell it. And then you're not gonna play anymore. If you're playing games on your computer all the time, but the work that you do is really just, writing, sell that computer and just get one that cannot even handle the games. For example, and you may think that, yeah, that's very extreme. Perhaps a lot of times it's not possible, but when it is possible, you should do it. Because if what you're trying to do is truly important, then it matters more than you having the console or a little bit better computer or a bit more comfort in these things here, because overall they're just taking you away from what you should be doing. So main thing is going to be removing. Now what you're going to realize is that some things cannot be removed. If you work on your computer but you get distracted by your computer, you can't remove it because you need that. And when that happens, the second stage of it is you're going to make it as difficult as possible to access distractions. The first step to that, first step within the step, is to understand what do you get distracted by the most. You likely think for 10 minutes and you realize if you don't, is it Instagram? Is it YouTube? Is it video games? What is your main source of easy comfort, easy dopamine that you go to when you need it? That's what you have to understand. And assuming this is something that you can't remove, now you're going to understand, okay, how do I make it difficult to go to it? I'm going to take the console here. It's an easy thing to illustrate. If you couldn't sell it or just remove it, so maybe what you do is okay, you take the power cord, put the PlayStation in one drawer, put the cord in another drawer. And this is something you can add, you're going to realize some things you can add to the others. And then you go and take the remote and then put it in another drawer, maybe lock it, put the key away, something like that. Because when you're doing something you should do and you get distracted and you go to these distractions, what happens or why it happens is because it's very easy. Getting your phone and opening Instagram takes less than 3 seconds. You scroll up, you look at the phone, it unlocks, you tap the button. That's immediate pretty much. But if it wasn't immediate, let's say you had to walk 10 kilometers before you could access Instagram, you would almost never access it. Or you would access it when you just randomly walk 10 kilometers, but you wouldn't do it on purpose. We can't put it, these things at that level, but that's almost what you're trying to get at. Not all the time, but when you should work, you want to make it very, very difficult. The next level of that, and this gets complicated, is when it's really with the computer. You want to add, first of all, remove the things you can, like uninstall the games, uninstall the programs that are distracting you, and then you block them for the period of time you're trying to work. The best thing I suggest is something called Cold Turkey. It's like an extension and a software installed on your computer, and that one is pretty much impossible to remove after you set it up, so you have to be careful. What I suggest, get that and put the timing, let's say 9 to 5 when you should be working. And you say, okay, YouTube is forbidden here, and you won't be able to access it. No browser will be able to open it. You will not be able to go there. YouTube, Reddit, Instagram, whatever it may be, even if you're in incognito mode, it will not allow you to go there. Block that. If it's video games, block the websites that allow you to download the installer for the game. Really make it difficult to access that. That's the next thing you're after here. And now the final thing, actually before the final thing, I want to give a little sub thing here, because I know this is very difficult. Most people can't do this, but if you can, get a separate device for work versus the entertainment one. Something that really helped me is that now I have an iPad that I always write on it and do a lot of the, writing things, planning, etc. on it, and really makes it much less distractions, because I don't even go on YouTube or anything on it most of the time. So if I go to Starbucks, take it with me, I never get distracted. It's just that time I'm working, I'm just working. But, that's just a little side note here. Separation, if you can work in a separate place where you chill, it's also good, but I know it's very difficult for some people. The final thing that you want to do here is, after you remove the distractions, make it hard to access them, you want to make it easy to do the things they really want to do. The writing, the working on your project, the going to the gym, whatever it may be, the thing you're pursuing, the habits you're trying to implement, make them easy on yourself. And then after that, little side note, make them pleasant too. So if you're trying to write, and you always get overwhelmed by it and all that, and it's not very chaotic in your desk, organize your desk. Make it pretty, make it pleasant to be there. Make it sure that, there's always some like sticky note there with what am I writing about, the topics I'm gonna write, organize, structure things, make it so that it's smooth to transition into work. I talked about this in a previous video. I think it's the highway to focus, if you want to check that out. A lot of these things makes focus, environment, all that, but as a key thing here is to make it easy to start. If you're going to the gym, but every time you go to the gym, you have to prepare your bag and then get your shoes and you forget things and all that, you're gonna be like, I don't feel like it. But if your bag's already ready, it's right by the door, ready, your shoes are already, prepared, everything is set up, and then the gym is like 2 steps away from home, it's gonna be like, oh, I take the bag and I leave. It's a smooth transition to what you want to do. And if you notice, one of the main reasons why we do so much of the bad that we want to do is because the transition to it's very smooth, it's very easy. You access your phone, it's smooth. Just put your hand in your pocket, take it out, and that's it. You have to do the same for what you want to do. But that takes effort, it's difficult, and that's why so few people actually follow through on these things and can be focused and can do what they want to do. And then the next to it, I was gonna say it's like a smaller thing, but I don't think, now kind of thinking through it, it's not small at all, which is to make it pleasant. Because I notice if I'm in a nice coffee shop writing, and there's the nice music and the light is pleasant and the coffee I'm drinking is very nice and people around me are not talking loud and I just, in front of me there's not a lot of chaos, I do it so much better, I enjoy it. And then what I do, not only am I consistent with what I'm trying to do, which is the first step, but then my execution becomes better. What I'm writing becomes better because I'm more in that flow state. I'm enjoying the process. So to finish, let's go step by step and review what we talked about here. I don't want you to be overwhelmed by these things. I do recommend you go check the free course down below. I go there more step by step throughout everything. But so first of all, you want to remove the things you can remove that distract you and that are just, hindering you from doing what you want to do. Number 2, you want to make it difficult to then go access that same things you removed and the things that you cannot remove. So put blockers, put things, separate them apart, make it add resistance, or not resistance, add friction to the things you don't want to do. And then final step is you remove friction from the things that you do want to do. Make it easy on yourself, make sure it's clear, make sure it's smooth to transition to them, and then to make sure you can do them correctly, make it pleasant. I gave the example of the writing. If it's going to the gym, get some nice nice workout clothes. Go to a better gym if you can. Make sure you have a nice playlist to go along. Make sure it's, you're feeling good when you're doing it. And that's what I'm going to leave you with for today. There's many more steps to removing these bad habits and, stopping these things. For some people, this is one of the main things. For other people, there's other things that are more relevant to them. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you now apply it, and I hope to see you inside our free community.